What was Building 7?
So I'm full disclosure. I have always focused my studies and research and expertise, if you want to say that, on the intelligence failures.
Yes.
I did watch your series. I listened to it. I didn't watch it. I don't like to watch myself.
I know what you mean.
But and I do know Building 7, there's a lot of talk that it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think that there needs to be some questions to special ops as to whether or not, as way of fact, that any bombs were planted in the couches of that building.
The couches?
The couches.
What does that mean? A couch like you sit on a couch?
Yeah.
Why do you say couches?
Listen, over the years, we've had people that came and approached us and tried to give us information, all kinds of different people.
I bet.
And I think that one of the things that needs to be examined is Building 7. I think that hard questions need to be asked as to how and why that building fell.
But why do you say couches?
I just happen to wonder if bombs were planted in the couches by special ops.
You happen to wonder. I mean, that's not something you would arrive at just sort of randomly. The couches, everyone talks about the columns and the fireproofing, but you're saying, so obviously
I don't know. I mean, listen, like I said, we had a lot of people approach us. We had air traffic controller people in the beginning. We had a former Iranian give us information. We had Able Danger guys come to us.
I bet you did.
We had foreign governments try to give us stuff. We had death threats. We had all kinds of stuff. So, I'm just throwing that out. Building 7, that's what I could say. It's not my area. It's not what I focused on.
I get it. I totally get it.
I think it is a total anomaly that happened. It doesn't make any sense to me. And what's interesting is it's something that I had never studied before. And, it's true. It's kind of odd. And, I think that we should get some answers.
The couches. Okay.
Sorry.
I'm going to.
Couches.
Yeah. No, it's just
I don't know nothing.
Yeah, no, I get it. But clearly, you were a kind of clearinghouse for this stuff.
Yeah.
Just because of your role for those people who weren't around or don't remember, you were.
No, I mean, one of the things that sticks out to me that we had heard, one of the nicer, sometimes you hear information that I believe is sort of like a limited hangout or to try to explain the real story, but soften it. And so one of the things that we heard is we were following them, but we thought it was going to be November 9th instead of September 11th. We reversed the numbers. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So you were following them or you weren't following them, or you on the practice runs, were you not on the practice runs? But that was one of the stories that we had heard from a source that they were getting followed. We were, but we thought it was going to be 11/9, not 9/11. That doesn't really make a lot of sense because we had the NSA listening into the conversations between bin Laden and the other operatives. And as everybody knows now, because Senator Hatch leaked some of the information that tomorrow is 0 hour, the big wedding, it's 2 sticks and an upside down birthday cake. I think that there was plenty of information out there to let people know that it was actually 9/11. And more to the point, one thing that gets skipped over often, my understanding is that Ramzi Youssef, the 93 bomber, the 5th anniversary of his conviction was September 11th, 2001. And if you know anything about Al-Qaeda, if you study Al-Qaeda, they like anniversaries. And so to me, I think that for whatever reason, the attacks weren't stopped. The American public wasn't properly notified or warned. Certainly there were people inside the government that were probably given warnings. I think there's evidence of that.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish
of that.
Yeah. I just wish that my family had known, because when my husband called me, I would have been like, holy shit, get the fuck out. Get out. This is not a bad pilot, as the president said. This is it. Get out of that building. It was already a target. The people that worked in that building knew it was a target. I think it's interesting that many of the women that worked in my husband's firm survived. And I point to women's intuition. The women were just like, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And they survived. And my husband didn't. And I feel like if the public was made more aware over the summer that, Director Tennett's hair was on fire and that we were in the crosshairs and that there was an impending attack because we had warnings from Germany, Russia, Israel, Jordan, our own intel communities, surveillance of these cells, I think many, many more lives would have been saved. I think, frankly, the attacks would have been 100% prevented.
Yeah. So I think it's entirely fair to ask, since they weren't prevented and since they've been covered up with maximum aggression for 25 years, they're still being covered up.
A systemic cover-up.
Systemic cover-up. That's correct. Very extensive cover-up. I mean, that's not a guess.
So
that's just
big.
a fact.
I think the cover-up is so big that like you couldn't even hold accountable the people that have covered it up. And honestly, the other limited hangout answer to that would be like, well, we were told that we couldn't tell you the truth because it was a matter of national security.
Always.
And isn't that convenient?
Well, sure. But I mean, this was the greatest violation of national security in my lifetime. So it doesn't really make sense as an argument. But because all of that. Yeah,
of national security. Like the Department of Defense, an hour and a half later, gets attacked and no heads roll. Does that make any sense to you?
No. So I think it's totally fair to ask who benefited from it at that point. I think it's totally fair. In fact, I think it's mandatory to ask that question. And there should be prosecutions.
100%.
You're a lawyer. How would you structure the response now?
Yeah. I mean, I love that you want the commission. I think that
I don't know if that's the right answer. I just want people, I want to know the truth.
Yeah. And I think that that's a truth commission is a great idea. I think that I would like it tweaked a little bit. I'd like a special prosecutor with a full-time, fully impaneled grand jury ready to issue indictments. I'd like, the offer of immunity to anyone, immunity and anonymity for anyone who comes forward with information on, the failures and the day-to-day of like what happened. And I think people should go to jail. And I think people that covered it up should be held accountable. And I think the families deserve answers. And
who wouldn't want that? I mean, I think if Donald Trump announced what you just said tomorrow, I'm just imagining this scene on X, on social media. Like,
right.
Who would be opposed to that, do you think?
Right.
Like, I know exactly who would be opposed to that. I know exactly which commentators would have a fit if he did that. And so what does that tell you?
But then explain to me how President Trump put together a joint terrorism task force for the October 7th victims. He put together, Pam Bondi led it, a task force to find everyone who was responsible for October 7th. And yet he ran on America First. And I was like, wait, I'm sorry. Could we get a 9/11 task force? It's going to be the 25th year. For the 25th year, could you appoint a 9/11 task force? We have DOJ. How about DOJA, right? How about the Department of Government Accountability? And why don't you put that together and have the DOJ guys get the access to the information, throw it into AI, whatever they do, and figure out who's responsible and what really happened.
You know exactly what would happen.
What?
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, there would be a lot of people would have to answer really hard questions. And,
exactly.
And I don't.
But I think that the American public is owed that.
Are you
at this
kidding?
point.
Yes.
And, 3,000 people were massacred and the families are owed the truth and the families are owed, proper compensation for our losses. We have not been properly taken care of. We were railroaded.
How's that? Okay, so now I want to get into the DOJ. Thank you for indulging all my many questions. I still want to ask you off camera about the couches. What the hell does that mean? Sorry, I'm not going to push it.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, it means something, clearly. Okay, you've had problems with the DOJ. DOJ.
I want to just say this. Anyone who knows anything about the couches in Building 7 and the planning of explosives should get immediate immunity and anonymity if they come forward with the information.
Of course. This is all.
And if there is no one, then no one gets immunity.
Not a problem.
Right.
I never understood, like, what's the problem with finding out what the truth is about anything? I don't understand. And there is a certain persistent chorus of the same people, hysterical people, telling you that you're not allowed to ask this or talk about that. And it's like, why are you saying that? I mean, I understand. I'm not for, hounding people, attacking them. I don't think you should slander people. These are the slanderers, by the way, who are insistent, by the way, that you not ask questions. But whatever, I get it. Don't be impolite. Don't make a scene for no reason.
But
But in this case, 3,000 people dead. It's totally fair.
And that's what I was just going to say. The truth is really important everywhere, all the time. But when 3,000 people are murdered, we're owed an investigation. We're owed.
Oh, you radical.
No, right? I mean, we're owed. Where is the justice system?
Oh, I agree. Well, Grand Canyon University is not like most American colleges. It focuses on the things that actually matter. It is not a ripoff. It is the real thing. It's private, affordable, Christian university located in the heart of Phoenix, one of the largest universities in the country, actually. At Grand Canyon University, education is more than academics. It is about opportunity, the chance for every student to live out the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Rights are not given by the government. They were bestowed at birth, at conception, by God. That's just a fact. And Grand Canyon University is not going to lie to your kids and claim otherwise. It tells the truth. So you're thinking a quality education is rare, so this probably costs a fortune. Colleges constantly jack up their costs. They probably do the same. Well, they don't, actually. GCU has maintained the same tuition for 17 straight years. They're not in education to get rich at the expense of students. The whole thing is actually about learning. How refreshing. With flexible online classes, hybrid learning options, GCU offers 340 academic programs. Students benefit from a collaborative learning environment, dedicated faculty, personalized support to help them achieve their goals. The pursuit to serve is yours. Let it flourish. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University, private, Christian, affordable. gcu.edu. Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.